want to welcome in Ed from Pelham, New York. Ed, thanks for calling into the show.
Thanks, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good. Ed, it's 1/10 of the season. The Yanks are 10-6. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I came on and I was pretty vocal about the last time I was on your show that I was really disappointed to the point where I didn't take my season tickets this year because they didn't do, in my opinion, didn't do anything to improve the roster at all for 2 years. Now, I do like the young kids. I think that you need the young kids, but I think they could have made an attempt or even looked into somebody, one or two guys, maybe like a Mark Trumbo. They thought maybe they don't get them, but they didn't even ask. And to me, it's almost like the season has been surrendered because they got Jacoby Ellsbury batting cleanup. Now I'd rather have him than Gardner, without a doubt, but he's not a cleanup hitter. So I think it's nice that they're off to a nice start. They're 10-6. They're getting some good contributions by the young players. Headley's a good guy. I'm glad that he's doing well. But I don't think they're in it for the long run, and I think easily Boston and Baltimore beat the top, and I think the Yankees are going to struggle because they just don't have enough talent to put on the field. That's just my opinion. To me, again, there isn't a team in any sport or any franchise that's got more resources and certainly more cash than the Yankees do. And how they want to charge the highest prices in Major League Baseball for anything that you do with them, whether it be buy tickets, buy food, whatever you want to do. And you're going to put a product on the field that's, a small market lineup. I can't see it. I'm still a Yankee fan. I'm going to root for them. I like the young guys, but they could have added one or two key guys that could have participated with the younger players, and at least they'd be more competitive.
A couple of things to keep in mind. Gary Sanchez is on the shelf. Didi Gregorius is on the shelf. So obviously, Ellsbury would not be batting cleanup if they had those two players in the lineup. But there were a lot of Yankee fans that wanted to see an Edwin Encarnacion or something to that effect. But you want to know something, Ed? I call it the ripple effect. And here's what I mean by that. In 2014, when the Yankees said, we're going to get under that 189, we're going to get under that 189. Ed, why was it so important to get under 189 million? They wanted to hit the reset button, and they wanted to get under the luxury tax, and they wanted to hit the reset button and go to zero. And instead of doing that, when they backed up the Brinks truck for Ellsbury and McCann, and I think McCann was the one that really created the tipping point, the Yankees, as we speak, have to pay 50% luxury tax. They never had to do that before. And I think that is what is holding them back from making these moves that you would like to see them make. And I don't disagree with you, but I think that was the nucleus of the problem.
Well, let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Mike, I'm not buying it.
Okay.
Because if their prices were normal, then I'd understand it. But that $50 million luxury tax, whatever they're paying in luxury tax, is certainly made up for by their $400 and $500 and $600 corporate seats, $700, $750 corporate seats that they sell out for the year to corporations. There's no way those guys. There's no way that to me anyway, that's a problem. And as far as the Sanchez thing being out, when Sanchez was in the lineup, he was batting second. So he's not the cleanup hitter either. And if you want to say Gregorius is a cleanup hitter, he's not a cleanup hitter either. So, I think those points, again, what they could have done, I don't think Encarnacion is the answer either. I think it's got to, there were guys out there that they could have grabbed that could have improved the team, and been good picks, like a guy like Trumbo. Why did they not even inquire about him? Why would they not even ask? It doesn't make any sense to me. He's a guy who is a home run hitter. He could play first base in the outfield. He's DH. He's a good clubhouse guy. He's experienced. He's not that old. It's not like he's 35, 36 years old. They didn't even ask. Instead, they went and they spent money on Carter. And they went and they spent money on Holiday. And, who knows if they could have got him. But, at least humor me. I'm a fan. I had season tickets. Humor me. Make me think you're doing something. I mean, really, where was there any kind of pitching upgrade other than Chapman this year? Where? And the offense has been, last year, was it the worst offense in the game last year?
Well,
pretty close.
You know what? The thing with, when you talk about offense last year, the thing that jumped off the page at me as being the most frustrating, if you want to, you're asking me statistically, the thing that annoyed me the most, Ed, was out of 30 teams, the Yankees were ranked 25th in on-base percentage. And
Right.
when we were a dynasty team, you know this as well as
Yes.
anybody, when we were a dynasty team,
That's all we did.
one of the secrets to our success, certainly offensively, we know pitching wins championships, and we know the bullpen was the secret to our success. But we're just talking offense right now. It was that high on-base percentage is what made us such an efficient team in the postseason. And it evaporated. It evaporated. So that's,
And also, too, you're right. That's 100% right. And also, too, the guys that they're counting on to be those guys. I mean, Gardner is, not to keep harping on him, but I still don't understand why they write his name in the lineup. I don't get it. Once again now, he's hitting .217, right?
right.
He still strikes out way too much for a guy who can't hit home runs. He's supposed to be... Well, he's known for his speed. Well, tell me when it's going to show up in the box score.
Yeah.
I mean, when's he going to steal? When's he going to steal some bases? When's he going to make something happen? I know that he takes a lot of pitches. I know he's pretty good defensively, but I mean, they just keep writing his name in the lineup. Like it's almost like when Jeter was towards the end and he was struggling, and even Mattingly to a lesser extent in his last year when he was hurting and he was batting .240. He was still in the third spot in the lineup. Jeter was still leading off, even when they kind of, might be hurting the team to bat him in the leadoff spot. I don't understand what it is with Gardner. I don't know if it's that Cashman doesn't want to admit the mistake, that, we paid this guy all this money like he was some superstar player, when in reality, in my mind, he's always been a fourth outfielder. I mean, I don't know. There's maybe 5 teams, 6 teams in Major League Baseball where he'd be starting, in my opinion. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, one positive thing is he won the Gold Glove last year, and I believe very strongly in pitching and defense fielding to back up that. So that's one saving grace for him. But there are a lot of Yankee fans that get very frustrated. I do also. I just don't understand. I remember Reggie Jackson saying when this guy was like a rookie or, his first couple of years, he said, with his speed, this guy could bat 300 if he just, puts the bat on the ball. He's got an uppercut swing. It makes no sense. He should be
Right.
level, hitting down, hitting to all fields. Let me ask you this, Ed, because I thank you for, calling in. I hear, the passion in your voice, and I understand everything that you said, and I know there's extreme merit to the points that you're making. I want to ask you, first of all, you're still watching every Yankee game, correct?
Of course.
You
I'm
watch
a
it
Yankee
close.
fan.
Okay, great. Now, give me a few positives that you see from this team that put a smile on your face. It could be an individual, or it could be just maybe a fundamental way that they're playing the game. What is bringing some joy to your viewing?
Well, I think that I like the young players. I like Judge. I like Bird. I think that they're doing a nice job. I'm happy for Headley. There's a guy who was all-state player in his all-state top player in Colorado 2 years in a row when he was in high school. Valedictorian, good guy, good all-around guy, and I think he was playing hurt last year. I think, and anybody who's got a bad back knows. And I think now that he seems to be healthy, he's shown what he can do, and I'm happy for him. I'm also happy with Sabathia because I know he's been struggling, and he's a competitor. I'm glad to see him really doing some things, and I like Montgomery. I like him a lot. So I think that the team is playing with grit. I'm not a big Joe Girardi fan at all, but he's getting those kids that they're all playing for him. They're working. They're, like you say, they're hitting the ball the other way. They're playing much more heads-up baseball than I thought they played last year. So for those points, it's good to see them, and they're competitive. They're in every game. It's good, but I just don't think they got the staying power. They just don't have enough offense to compete. But we'll see.
Okay, and you made all great points, and one of the things that I would say is you mentioned Jordan Montgomery. I agree with you 1,000%. It's so refreshing to see a left-handed pitcher come through the farm system. Now, he's 6'7", and what the attribute that he has that is playing very well is the fact that he has a very, very high arm slot. He comes straight over the top. And whether he's throwing his fastball, whether he's throwing his curveball, whether he's throwing his slider, or whether he's throwing his changeup, Ed, you know this, that it's the exact same arm slot, and the pitches are coming straight down, and it's really befuddling the hitters. So far, so good. He's a 4-pitch starter. He's got very good control. He's left-handed. He's got good composure to him. So I agree with you 1,000%. Now, listen, he's a rookie. He's going to have some rough patches. We know that, but I like what I see so far with Jordan Montgomery.
No doubt about it. And I think he's only gonna get better. And I think he can be dominant. And I'm also glad that they're giving him a chance. Because sometimes it's tough. But it's good to get, and the other thing is I'm glad Pineda seems to have turned it around. Seems to have really turned it around. You got to give him, we were all over him last year, and this year he seems to have really turned it around.
And you know what? I don't know if you heard my comments, but I'm giving a lot of credit to Austin Romine because I've been just saying ad nauseum, you can't be a 2-pitch starter. You can't be fastball, slider, fastball, slider, fastball. He was throwing 4% changeups. Now he's throwing 15% changeups, and you just have to plant a seed of doubt in the batter's mind. If the range of velocity is from 90 to 95 miles an hour, the slider's 90, the fastball's 95, there's not enough variance in your miles per hour. So I agree with you there. It's good to see Pineda, and I think if he stays with the third pitch, it is sustainable that he could keep it going. Ed, I want to thank you for calling in. Keep on watching.
Thanks for having me, and go Yanks.
And I'll have you back on again.
Sure.
Okay.
Go Yanks.
Bring up a very, very good point, Lee, because obviously, most of the attention that he gets is because of the tape measure home runs. But when you brought up two very, very good points. Let's talk about defensively for a second. Right field at Yankee Stadium, there are so many balls that go into the first row of right center. And the wall, a lot of people don't know this, but the Yankees lowered the height of the wall from like 10 feet to like 8 feet. The point of my pointing this out is because Judge, being 6'7", I mean, he can jump and he can bring down balls that would be home runs just because of his height and his size. And we all heard that he is the largest baseball player in the history of the game, because there's been some that are 6'7", but a position player that's 6'7", 282 pounds, it has never happened. So you bring up a great point.
Yeah, he's quite the package, and you're right, Mike. As a matter of fact, he displayed a little bit of that the other day against McCutcheon, I believe it was, where he went back to the wall and went up in the air. And when he goes up in the air, he's up there.
He's up there. That's rarefied air.
It's rarefied air, yeah.
Yeah, and just as you pointed out, very astutely, good base runner, he scored from first base on a ball hit to the outfield that I didn't think he was going to. And just as you said, now he's rounding third and he's coming home, and you say, "Oh boy, you don't know what to expect, And he went just like an all-out head-first dive. He just looked as relaxed as could be. He swiped his hand across the plate. For a big man, he's just as you said, he's very athletic.
I believe, Mike, he's a real athlete. He's not just some sort of freak. And so, granted, he's in a big container, but he's got the skills, like he runs he runs the way you're supposed to run the bases, you know, and he does have speed. I mean, God only knows how many feet are in that stride of his, but he moves quickly. He beat out an infield hit the other day as well, which, you know, every time I watch him, he does something that, as far as I'm concerned, his stock goes up in my eyes, you know.
You know what? You hit it right on the head. I was giving you an opportunity to make one more point, and I'm going to throw it out there because I got a nice response on Twitter with this. You know what else I love, Lee? No matter how hard he hits the ball, no matter how far he hits the ball, even though he knows it's a home run right off the bat, he drops the bat, he puts his head down, and he runs hard to first base. I love that. I love that. No bat flip. You know, none of that swag that's unnecessary with the, you know, with the Bautista, listen, if you do it, it's one thing, but I prefer you don't do it. And so I just love the fact that he plays with a little class, dare I say. And he's playing for the Yankees, and that means something, whether it goes all the way back to Joe DiMaggio or Mickey Mantle when he hit a home run, and he ran around the bases with his head down, like he was like ashamed that he hit it to run back into the dugout. You know, you go as far back as me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This guy, if he keeps it up, could be a foundation piece. He could be a cornerstone piece, a core piece.
Oh, I'm with you on that, Mike, and your take on how to conduct yourself. I just don't think that swagger style is in him at all. You know, I look at him in the dugout, and his teammates are as happy as he is when he's performing and succeeding. And he just has this smile on his face all the time. And, you know, from little things like playing catch with the kid in the outfield to, you know, there's example after example. And he's a classy guy, you know. He's a good guy, and
easy to root for.
Given an opportunity. And you know, I'm very, very pleased that that's the way it's working out for him, you know.
I agree with you.
Him and us.
That's right. Now, again, you watch the games very closely. You're a diehard Yankee fan. Give us another thing early on in the season that's really putting a smile on your face.
Well, I got to say Ellsbury.
Okay.
You know, this is the guy we thought we were getting when the deal was made. I know it's early in the season, and you know, he's injury prone from during the course of his career, but he seems to have made, I don't know whether it's an attitude adjustment or what the story is. Only he knows, maybe. I certainly don't, but I like the results. He's running. He's getting the bat on the ball. He's putting pressure on the defense, and he's part of the, you know, he's part of that. What we bring to the table every game now. It's not just it's a multi-dimensional offense. It's not just get a guy on and wait till he hits a home run. And I think it's going to have I think it is having an effect on Gardner, right?
Yeah.
So we need that running game. We do, you know.
To quantify your comments, you're spot on. He is batting early on in the season. We understand small sample size, but he's batting .333 with a .387 on base. As you said, more importantly, he's a catalyst. He's been stealing bases, and just as you said, he looks healthy. And I think I would add one more thing, Lee. You watch the games very closely, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
What was it last year? What was with all the catcher interferences? I mean, he set a major league record with hitting the catcher's glove. Now, it's all fine and dandy that you get first base with that, but he was letting the ball travel too deep before he started his swing. So I think they straightened that out, and whatever they did, kudos to him and whoever helped him with the hitting instructing, because it's working.
I never thought of that, Mike, and you bring up a really good point, because I don't think that's happened yet this season, and part of that might be an adjustment of the catcher, but what you say makes a lot of sense. If you let the ball travel that far before you're swinging, it explains why he hit so many foul balls, and wasn't getting the hits that he seems to be getting early this Yeah, he's attacking the ball, right? And just one last thing, Mike.
Yeah.
I know we're short on time, but I mentioned Ellsbury because I'm very pleased and surprised by that. But also Headley. Like Headley, his season early last year as compared to this year's night and day. It's that's nice to see as well.
You bring up a great point. He's another one that's easy to root for. I mean, a lot of Yankee fans got very frustrated, me included, and rightfully so. But he is an easy person to root for. He looks like, from a personality standpoint, it almost reminds you of a Scott Brocious kind of player, So, I mean, there's no question that he's a good guy. You could tell right away. The thing that was in my mind, which was just driving me nuts, was to be blunt, was last year. I'll give you a perfect example. Early on in the season, he's batting 150. It's in April. There was a game up in Toronto, and it might have been early May, so forgive me. But he was really struggling, and the point of the story was, we're losing 7-0, Lee. In the ninth inning, he leads off, and they have this extreme shift on him. I couldn't believe my eyes. I said, how could Toronto put a shift on up 7-0 with a guy that's struggling? You know what's going to happen next. It's got to happen where he puts a bunt down third because you're losing 7-0. He didn't do it, and he struck out for the fourth time in that game.
Man.
That was very frustrating. Now, you look at game one of this season. In Tampa Bay, Evan Longoria playing way off of third base. Extreme shift. He took an inside-out swing twice, Lee, and he hit like slow dribblers down third and got two, if you want to call them cheap hits, smart hits. And then he bunted down third also. He got 3 hits to a vacated spot on the field. He took what the defense gave him. And in my opinion, those 3 hits in the first game relaxed him. It was just, it's not like last year, and he got off to a good start. Plus, I think he's healthy. Your thoughts?
I'm with you all the way on that, Mike, and that set the table for the season for him. To me, that's not cheap hits. Those are smart hits.
Right, those are smart hits. Right,
absolutely.
Right, take what the defense gives you. Lee, it's always a pleasure. Keep watching the Yankees, and look forward to speaking to you again as the season goes along.
Yeah, you take care, Mike. It's been a pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
All
Lee,
right.
Thanks for calling in. Speak to you again, and go Yankees. Yep. When we started off 1-4, and when Gary Sanchez went down when he took that swing, that looked really bad, the way he just grabbed his arm and his arm was dangling. I think all Yankee fans felt that, the season flashed before their eyes. But ironically, it was from that point forward that we've been 9-2. So what have you been most pleased about watching these early games during the season?
Well, I certainly did not expect the pitching to be so good. I really didn't. I think, we've had a couple of tough games. Last night was a tough game, but our pitching was much better than I expected. And there's such an energy and so much fun to watch. I mean, Aaron Judge is at bat. As David Cohen said, it's must-see TV. You just never know when he's going to hit a moonshot.
That's right.
So that has been very exciting. I think our pitching is a big surprise to me, and some of our veterans too are playing very well too. Ellsbury and Headley.
You bring up great points, and I agree with you 1,000%. In fact, I think that the biggest reason why the Yankees are 9-2 in the last 11 games is the pitching, and it is a surprise. And there's on my opening comments, my opening monologue, you didn't get a chance to hear it, but what I said was that there's an irony to what's going on, in my opinion, Rose. And here's what it is: we started off 1-4, and Gary Sanchez went down, as we mentioned. Austin Romine steps in as the backup catcher. And what he
Yeah.
did is he challenged Pineda and Severino to throw more changeups. And ironically, these two guys that were reluctant to do so have bought in with him behind the plate, and you're seeing the dividends of that. And what it is that, Jordan Montgomery has given them a nice shot in the arm. He's got a nice changeup, by the way, also.
Yes.
CC
Yeah.
Sabathia also has learned that sometimes less is more. Dial it back. If your fastball is only 91, throw your changeup at 78. So all of these things have come together, and in one ironic twist, by having the backup catcher behind the plate, he's encouraging these guys to do more mixing and matching with their pitching. And again, I think it's a very important factor that should not be overlooked.
I totally agree with you. Mike. I think Austin Romine is the best backup catcher in the league. I really do. And he's so smart behind the plate. And I totally agree with you. He's changed Pineda and Severino.
Yeah.
He really has.
Now, what we have to hope is two things. One is that it's a small sample size. We understand that. They have to keep doing it. They can't regress. They can't backslide. They can't go back into a comfort level where they once were, which wasn't working for them. Fastball, slider, no matter how good. I'll talk about Severino for a moment. 99 mile an hour fastball, fantastic. His slider is much improved. And his control, his command of the fastball is there. There's no question about it. And the strikeouts are there, 11 and then 10 with no walks, 10 strikeouts with no walks. But he's mixed in more changeups than last year. These guys were throwing between 4 and 9% changeups. Now they're throwing 15% or more. It makes all the difference in the world, Rose. You must plant a seed of doubt in the hitter's mind as to what's coming next.
Absolutely. Change of speeds and location are the two most important aspects of pitching, really.
It's
and, when you've got the location, but you need to change the speed, because if everything's hard, these are major league hitters. They're gonna gear up for it.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a slider, if it's a hard slider, they'll be ready for it.
And what I was speaking about with a previous caller is I like what I see from Jordan Montgomery. First of all, he throws the ball with his left hand. And you know what? You need some lefties and to come out of our farm system. And what I like most about him, Rose, is that he's 6'7". He has an arm slot. He comes over the top, completely over the top. He's throwing down. He's got 4 pitches, fastball, curveball, slider, and changeup, and a good changeup, and they all come from the same arm slot, and it really does seem to throw batters off.
Yes, I like him. I think you're right. He throws downhill, and the 4 pitches, his 4 pitches all work for him. So I'm excited about him too. I really am.
The other night, Rose, it was so deserving that every Yankee player wore number 42 to show respect for Jackie Robinson. And you have a personal story that you would like to share that a lot of people maybe are not quite as aware as they should be. Now, we all know, because Jackie rightfully gets so much notoriety, that he broke the color barrier playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. He started the season. Branch Rickey, he broke the color barrier. But only a few months later, in the American League, the first African-American to play in the American League was Larry Doby. So pick up the story if you can there, and we're going to go over to a graphic of Larry.
Okay. I mentioned the last time I called that my dad played some semi-pro baseball, and he also is from Paterson, New Jersey, the same town as Larry is from. And he through baseball and his association with baseball, he met and became friends with Larry Doby. And I met Larry Doby a couple of times. He was such a gentleman, such a great person. And he was the first, like you said, the first African American to play in the American League. I believe it was early July when he came up with the Cleveland Indians. So we're talking about 3 months after Jackie. Yep. And what people don't realize is Larry Doby went through the same prejudice, the same hatred, the same abuse that Jackie did, and he handled it the same way Jackie did also. They were two people that were alike. And a lot of people just don't know about Larry Doby. And I know the first person is the first person. Jackie and Branch Rickey changed the world, really. They changed baseball and they changed the world. But since this is also the 70th anniversary of Larry Doby breaking the color barrier, I just thought it would be nice if the American League would do something for him on that day in early July, like maybe wear a patch on their sleeve. Or I know that Larry Doby has children and grandchildren still in the tri-state area. Maybe throw out a first pitch. Maybe throw out a first pitch in Cleveland. It's a shame because he was a wonderful man, and people just don't know about him because he was number 2.
Right. Well said, Rose. Just as you said, they changed baseball. They changed the world. I mean, that's exactly what you said, and you were spot on. We have a graphic, if we can. We have a picture of Bill Veeck, who was the owner of the Cleveland Indians at that time, signing the contract with Larry Doby. And he does look like such a gentleman. Larry has a nice sports jacket on, nice smile on his face. Tell us about the relationship, the personal relationship with him and your dad, and how close they were.
They were, well, my dad was older, but my dad, even after he's done playing sports, he belonged to sports clubs in Patterson, and I think Larry played some Negro League ball in Patterson, or around the area in Newark, and the town kind of sponsored him, and the sports clubs kind of sponsored him, so that's where he really met my dad. My dad owned a restaurant, and in Wayne, New Jersey, and a lot of sports people, when they were in the area, would come there. But Larry would come to the restaurant and bring his children and his wife, and we would all have dinner together. I know they didn't see each other for a long time, but when my father died, Larry came to the wake, and I was so. My dad would have been so proud that he did that.
Wow, that's an honor to your dad that he came.
Yeah.
He came to your dad's wake. That boy,
yeah.
Oh boy, that says a lot, Rose.
Yeah, and he did say to me, he said, "Your dad was always nice to me and helped me in my career." So that was very special to me.
It had to be very special. Thanks for sharing that story. And it says a lot about your dad. It says a lot about Larry that he would do that. You hit on so many points, and I think you have a great idea that there should be some significant attention in July, because you're 100% correct. It was July in 1947. So there should be something. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm looking at it now. He debuted on July 5th. So right after the 4th of July, the next day. I mean, I think this would be a perfect opportunity for Major League Baseball, for the American League, to take time to honor Larry Doby. And
I think so too.
You know what, Rose? As I'm speaking to you, I'm reading his bio, and here's an irony. Doby joined the United States Navy during World War II. His military service complete, Doby returned to baseball in 1946, and along with teammate Monty Irvin, helped the Eagles win the Negro League World Series. Boy, oh boy, Rose, there's an irony there in that he was able to fight for his country, but he couldn't play in the major leagues with white people. So that was all to change. And just as you said, what they did is they changed baseball and they changed the world.